this is. Okay, so again, we are going to create basically what we're going to call the print version of the Nightly News. This actually predates the current video version of the Nightly News. I've done this on and off throughout the years for lots of different reasons. And so I technically am the one that started the Nightly News, and then they started doing video Nightly News, which is very fun. So we're now going to have both. We'll have print Nightly News and video Nightly News. And so just for the people who are absent, you're going to want to start by looking at this link and looking at some of these old issues. Spend about 5 minutes scrolling through and getting a feel for what this looks like. Everyone else, go ahead and show me your screens, and let me break a couple helpful things down for you. That's going to make this more fun, and all of your infrared will want to come out at this point. And just like some of the confusion and giving you some details that you're going to need to know. So everybody, including my Creative Writing 3 folks, you didn't do this last year. So Reagan, show me your screen. Eden, show me your screen. Ben, show me your screen. Every single person. And just ignore them until I say go, okay? So, I have a whole list for you. You're going to be able to choose a specific article type that you want to do. I will encourage you heavily to think about your audience. And your audience is like 985 other middle schoolers. And your job is to think, what kind of article in the print edition of the Nightly News would a middle schooler want to read? Because this is for fun. It's meant to make Albion a better, more friendly, happy place. So that's a big consideration. I also want to tell you briefly, just a tiny bit about the history of the print edition of the Nightly News and like how it came to be, just because I think it can be a little bit helpful to know where you are in this big history of this happening. So a long time ago, a kid had an idea, like, let's make a school newspaper. And it took me a long time to get it going. Actual newspaper that makes it look like a real newspaper software is really expensive. And so we went a different route, and it looks more like I called it a news magazine, because it looks more just like papers stapled together. Some of the issues we published were really, really long. Some of them were really short. A lot of the time, when we were publishing the Nightly News, it was me editing the whole thing together. And it got to the point where it took over my entire life. When we published one issue, we didn't publish very many. We would do like 4 a year. But it usually, for one issue, took me 80 hours after school that I wasn't being paid for, which I didn't care so much because I had fun. But I've now just gotten to the point where I have too much going on as a teacher. I teach too many different things. I do too many clubs and stuff. And I stopped having time. So sometimes we haven't done it. And it's been a couple of years. Like, some of your older siblings might have been here in a year where they did it. But in recent past, we haven't done it because I ran out of time and no students volunteered to help me with the editing part. And then last year, at the very end of last year, a kid came up to me in the hall, a kid I don't even have, said, hey, can we do a school newspaper? The principal told me to talk to you. And I was like, I told him what I just told you. And I said, if someone's willing to edit it all together for me, sure, we can do a school newspaper. But we're not doing it if it has to be me the one editing it all together. And he volunteers. So our goal is we're going to try and publish a Halloween issue. So I know that seems forever away. It'll be here before you know it. So it's currently August 27th, and we'll publish it hopefully about a week or two before Halloween. So your articles that you create don't have to be Halloween inspired, but it's an option. Okay? The other thing I want to warn people, it's possible that the kid who volunteered to do this, it's possible he might choose to just give up at the last second and then it doesn't actually happen. But we're going to move forward. He seems very committed, so we're going to move forward as though what's happening. Okay? If anyone is interested in being on the editorial team, we were throwing around the idea of making it into a new after-school club. And so I still need to meet with Principal Gardner and ask permission to do that. So I'll announce that if that becomes a thing. And then it doesn't just have to be one kid doing this, but it would be optional just for fun kind of a thing. Okay, more information. You're doing a great job listening. Keep it up, everybody. So your chances of actually getting published, which is fun, right? Because then you get to show it off to all your friends and stuff, go up if it's interesting and well done and unique. So what you'll actually get graded on, like I said, you're going to do 2 different articles, 10 sentences each, or the equivalent of 10 sentences, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. But you have until Friday to get this finished, which is going to be more than enough time, okay? And it is a writing contest. Not everyone is going to get chosen to get published. Honestly, I am not going to choose who gets published. I'm going to grade them and enjoy what you create. But the kid who's editing all together, who honestly, I don't know how to say his name because he's not one of my students. Let me show you his name, and I'm sure one of you knows him. It's this kid right here. Does it? Pierluca, yes. So that is the kid who is responsible for resurrecting the Nightly News, which has been dead for a couple of years. So, let's see. It is a writing contest. He gets to decide who gets published or not. So if we do start up the after school club, if you want to be on the editorial team, you also get to be one of the people who gets to make the decision. But because it's a writing contest, you have to consider that as you're writing. Yes, you're getting a grade for it in class, but you also have to consider, I have to make mine good enough and eye-catching enough and interesting and funny enough that they want to publish my article, right? So nothing forces readers to read, right? While you were scrolling through, raise your hand if you skipped articles. It's not a bad thing. I want you to be honest. I would too, yeah. There's nothing that is going to force a kid at Albion to actually stop and read your article. So that also puts a little extra pressure, but hopefully it's fun, that you have to consider that for a typical middle schooler, we have a big newsstand that sits in the commons. It's kind of like this wire rack thing, and it'll sit out by Miss Apgood's office, and we'll make morning announcements, and we'll be like hot off the presses, like, come pick up a copy of the Nightly News, and it's out in the commons, and first of all, there's nothing that makes kids pick it up. But second of all, there's nothing that forces them to stop and read yours. So you have to consider all these things. It's a little bit of a different challenge. The more work you do to format your article, to make it look eye-catching, and to make it really interesting, the less work it is for, is it pronounced Pierluca? Yes. The less work it is for him, and as me, as an editor, Eden Focus, if I had to do less work editing it all together, I was more likely to publish that article. So also consider that the more work you do to make it look really awesome, your chances of getting published go up. So I'm going to talk about like the turn-in instructions and stuff not until tomorrow, because no one really is going to be ready to turn anything in today. So Ben, ask your question. And then I'm going to talk about types that you can do. Sure.
What's that duck over there?
It's a Voldemort duck that someone made, and it's just for fun. It's my meme of the week. Okay. So there's lots of different types of articles. I'm going to go over them very quickly. You can ignore the ones you don't like and focus on the ones you do like. However, just keeping in mind, if I get 17 articles of the same type, your chances are much less likely of getting published. So you might want to be kind of being strategic and kind of almost like playing the game of which one can I do that's more unique. So when I say significant, because there's two types of articles, significant and I call it entertainment. These are the two different types you're going to do. You must do both because they go on your grade, and each one is just 10 sentences. You can also do like a bunch of small things and have it equal up to 10 sentences. That's okay too. However, you do have to do one of each type. So when I say significant, that doesn't mean boring by any means. It just means it took a little more work than just creating a meme. Creating memes are really easy. These ones take a tiny bit more time and effort, but it doesn't mean boring. So let's go over some of the options that you could do. So actual news reporting. You could report on news at Albion. You could report on news around Utah. You could report on news around the nation or around the world. These ones don't get done very often. So if you do one of these, your chances of getting published are pretty high. But just like a real reporter, you would choose a story to report on. You can Google ideas. You would write it in your own way, but you also have to be aware this isn't going to get published until like the middle of October. So if you choose something that's only relevant right now, like if you choose to report on Tay-Tay and Travis getting engaged, that's going to be really, really old news by the time October rolls around. So you have to be aware of that, okay? You can have an article about trends, like what's a thing going on at Albion that's kind of trending, right? And report on that. You can do interviews if you want. You can write about it in whatever way you want. Like one time when Fortnite was really trending, I had kids do articles on that. Or slime was really big one year. Or if it's Crocs or Pokemon Go or whatever the thing that's trending, that's a good option to do. Technology page articles usually do really well because these are things that are being invented. And I would encourage you to go beyond artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence by this point has now become such a normal part of life that I would encourage you to think about other kinds of cool technology that are on the horizon. Like I heard my husband just showed me an article about like a space station that's meant like it's like an aircraft carrier but for space. Like that's cool technology. So this involves you doing a little bit of Googling, then picking an idea and then writing it in your own way. Yeah. Yes, it would have to be 100% school appropriate, but yes. I would say though, if I get like 17 articles about artificial intelligence for the technology articles, your chances of getting published go way down, right? So be strategic. You can also research, and research sounds boring, but stick with me for a second. You could research any topic and report on it. Like, for example, I had a kid one year, his researched article for the Halloween issue was the way to get the most candy possible, eat and focus, for Halloween. Or I had a kid one year do research about shark attacks because he thought that was really fascinating. Anything that you're interested in, it can be like a little researched article. Creative writing I count as significant because it takes a little more time and effort. If you want to write a short story and get it published, you're distracted behind it. If you want to create poetry and get it published, if you have cool song lyrics you want to get published, any of that would go, and I count it as significant because it takes a little extra time and effort. And you could do a holiday-themed article. So since this is our Halloween issue, anything about Halloween that you want to turn into a fun article, you could use for this issue. And there's so many options, like top 10 costumes, or how to do the most fun, like, I don't know, like group costume, or let's all guess what crazy thing they'll dress up as, right? Something along those lines. Holiday articles can be fun, yeah. You absolutely are, which we will talk more about in just a second, but yes.
Could we do, like, something like a warning, like, don't, like, buy enough candy, or...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Anything that fits that theme is great. Editorials are something that get published in real newspapers. These aren't done very often, so this also increases your chances of getting published. Editorials, think of them as basically a long rant. People can write their own little article, send it into the newspaper, and there's a whole page in real newspapers called editorials, where people, like, comment basically on stuff going on in the world. So I could give an editorial about how morning announcements are driving me nuts. So I could give an editorial about how I think people in the world should be nicer to each other. I should give an editorial about how I think everyone in the world should have a cat, right? Anything that you feel strongly about, you can kind of think of it as like a tiny little argumentative, not essay, but like almost like a little letter to the newspaper that gets published. How-to articles are fun, and it could be anything. How to make your Crocs really awesome. How to deal with that kid in your math class that's driving you crazy. How to actually survive 8th grade. How to make a homemade ghost costume, right? Like any how-to article. It absolutely is a great option. Okay, book and movie reviews. These are also very rarely done, so again, this increases your chances of actually getting published. You could go Google like movies coming out in October or books coming out in October and like do a hype piece, or you could talk about a really big deal one like Happy Gilmore 2 or something that just came out and do a little like review of a book or movie. Sports page is really hard because by the time this gets published, whatever sport, it still has to be relevant at that time. So usually by this point of the year, it's football, but there's other sports too. It doesn't all have to be football. So yeah, basketball, right? So just keep in mind, it's still got to be relevant and something that people are interested in, not in the middle of me talking. So almost done though. Okay, now, those are all the options for significant articles, which means they just took a little time and effort. So there's a different list for entertainment, and that's why I made it a separate assignment. You do have to do one of each. You're going to do 2 articles, or the equivalent of 10 sentences, 2 articles. You didn't try and focus, because you're going to get confused if you don't focus, okay? So, the instructions are all the same, except the options are a different list. Yes? 10 sentences per article. Or, if I want to do a bunch of little things for my significant, it could be the equivalent of 10, and then a bunch of little things for my entertainment article, then it could be the equivalent of 10. So, competition, scavenger hunts, anything that's interactive. Usually readers love those. And, Eden, try and focus. So it could be something like a crossword. It could be something like, I hid things around the school. If you find it, Mrs. Coates will give you 10 pieces of candy. It could be anything where it involves the reader of the nightly news, like interacting with the article. So I've had lots of those in the past, and I always encourage new, unique ideas. Yeah.
What if you said this? I hid something around the school, and if you find it, Miss Coates gives you 50 pieces of candy, but you didn't hide anything.
That would be hilarious. I will allow that. Funny horoscopes are a tradition. How many of you saw one of the horoscopes in one of the old editions? So horoscopes, yeah, they are, and I encourage you, if you choose to do this, I encourage you to go look up horoscopes in the examples. Horoscopes based on your star sign, which is like not a real thing, but people do that. Like I'm a Pisces because my birthday is in March. And sometimes people, especially it was like an old thing when actual print newspapers were a thing, but people would open up the newspaper to read their horoscope, and it would say, if you're a Pisces, you're going to have great luck today, so now's a good day to take chances. But when we do horoscopes for the nightly news, they're really funny, over-the-top, ridiculous. Like, if you're a Pisces, you're guaranteed to have to fight 6 ninjas today. Be ready. And we make them up, they're not real, and they're meant to be really over-the-top, ridiculous funny, okay? Fake funny advertisements, just like it sounds. It could be for anything. Just like our pop-up ad. So you can't straight up do the same thing you did in your pop-up ad, but you could use those skills and do a fake funny advertisement that we will publish as though it is a real thing. Funny quizzes is exactly what it sounds like. It could be like a quiz, like how to tell if you will get on Miss Master's bad side. I don't know, something funny, right? Or a quiz for learning your best crock gibbet option. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something funny on the spot, right? So you would make up the quiz and the questions, and then it's another interactive thing that people can do. Comics! Okay, comics. It's important if you want to do a comic that you listen carefully. So if you do a comic, those usually are hand-drawn, unless you want to do an online comic. If you do a comic, you would do it on blank paper. You would need to use really good handwriting because we can't edit them after the fact. So you would need to like make it actually readable. And then comics get turned into me in person. You don't turn it in on Canvas because then I scan it in as an image so that then it can get published. Memes! People love doing memes. Your chances of getting published if you do memes are really, really, really hard because we get a billion of them. So if you do a meme or a comic, you are not allowed to copy one that already exists. You have to creatively do your own. It's creative writing, people. You are not allowed to plagiarize one that already exists. The first thing I do when I grade these is I go and look it up and see if the one that you turned in already exists. Okay? So be careful, because that would result in you getting a U in citizenship because it's cheating. So be very careful. But memes, the easiest way to make a meme is to go to Google Slides, grab a picture you like, put a text box over the top, and write whatever funny caption you want to write. One meme, Eden, are you listening? Yeah. One meme is one sentence. So if I'm going to do all memes for this entertainment article, I would have to do how many? 10. Yep. Or I could do like 5 memes and 1 comic, right? Like, and then that would count as my whole entertainment requirement. So be careful though. I've had kids turn in really, really funny memes and they spelled something wrong and it wasn't on purpose. And then I can't publish their meme. It also has to be 100% school appropriate because obviously this is going to the whole school. We cannot publish anything that is not squeaky clean school appropriate. Yes.
Can you combine meme and comic?
Yes, if it's one that you are creating and it does not already exist. Okay, almost done, you guys. Wanted posters or fake obituaries. Like when Pokemon Go finally stopped being so popular, someone did a fake obituary. R.I.P. Rest in peace, birthday boy. Rest in peace, Pokemon Go. And they made this whole dramatic, over-the-top, silly thing about we are remembering its funeral is this time, right? You could also do a wanted poster. And you could also think about the theme, like wanted, the Wicked Witch of the West, right? Something that fits with Halloween, if you want to. But your articles, guys, don't have to fit with the theme. Guys, listen, I'm going to say it again. Your article doesn't have to fit with the theme. If it does, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. And weird news. When you Google weird news, there are 1.5 billion ideas. How many of you were in debate last year and did the newscast project? Remember all the weird news we came into contact with? Like Florida man robs a Wendy's drive-thru using an alligator? That's real. So if you do weird news, you are allowed to get an idea that exists, but you have to write it by yourself. So you take the idea and do the writing yourself. So, today you could start with either one. You could start with significant. You could start with entertainment. But you probably won't get very far today because I've been talking for a long time and I apologize. I'm going to let you turn your screens around but not move yet. Okay? So, as far as interviewing people goes, we will function... Wait, Eden, I said they're moving around yet. So hold on. We will function just like the real other nightly news does, like the video version of the nightly news. You will come to me with an idea. It has to be a fully figured out idea before you come to me with your idea. I approve it or not, and then I give you instructions for how you go and interview people. Typically, we don't want to interrupt other people's classes because I get yelled at when that happens. So, I usually will send you to teachers who are on their prep period, which means they don't have a class right now, or I'll send you to teachers who I know for a fact they're pretty chill and they'd be okay with you, like, interviewing 1 or 2 kids in their class. But it has to be a good idea, it has to be unique, it has to be a fully thought out idea. Like, if you come up to me in 2 seconds and say, can I go interview someone? And you have no idea, I'm going to laugh at you and say, go away. Come back when you have a better idea, okay? So, that being said, I basically encourage you today, if you're going to work with a partner, go sit by them. Then, wait, I didn't say go. Talk through your ideas first. Look at the lists together. Look through, make your plan of attack. You might not even start creating anything today, because it might just take you time to just think through, what do we even want to do? You might not start actually writing anything until tomorrow, and that's fine. Because you have tomorrow, and you have Friday, and we could always add more time if we really need to. So, before I say go and move around, what big questions do we have left? Yes?
So, like, if you want to do, like, a wanted poster,
Uh-huh, yep.
like, would you use an iPad to take a picture?
Whatever creative way you want to make it happen goes. There's lots of, like, online ones that you can make it that way. If you want to create it by hand, you do that however you makes sense to you.
I was just curious if we could put, like, wanted this coat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Okay, yeah.
So do we like submit it on like, or do we like do it on like Google Docs?
Good question. You use whatever technology you're most comfortable with, just like the pop-up ad. If you really want to make yours on Google Docs, great. But Google Docs, I'm going to be honest with you, stinks at letting you edit stuff. So you could do Google Docs. Well, Google Slides is a lot easier to actually move stuff where you want it. You could do Canva is a really good option, but only if you're comfortable with it. But you do whatever technology you're most comfortable with for creating your article.
Also, are we
Yeah.
just like make those the night thing with the pictures?
So I will collaborate with the art classes and let them